Hello everybody, it's been a while since I last covered any kind of news on the YouTube channel, but, you know, I was thinking maybe I should get back to that. There's some interesting things going on, so might as well talk about them, I suppose. First of all, there seems Valkyrie Elysium came out on the consoles, the PS5 and PS4, and I was able to obtain my copy, and even with a nice steelbook. I can confirm that if you don't like the CG artwork that is shoveled down our throats here in the West for the box art, rest assured, the actual game box has reversible cover art, so you can get the nice illustration for your box art, just like Tales of Arise had, so that is a very, very good. But with Valkyrie Elysium digital version, there was also supposed to be release of the first game, Valkyrie Profile Lenneth, on the PSN, so that means specifically for PS5 and PS4, and that was delayed to December 22nd. Now the reason they are specifying is, you know, your standard message, we need to improve the quality of the title and have decided to move the release date to December 22nd, 2022. So they are improving the quality. Now I don't know what that means. They are porting probably the phone version of the phone port of the PS1 game that was ported to PSP, which was ported to phones, and then from the phones it seems like it's going to be ported to PS4 and PS5. So I mean, I don't know what's like the problem here. It seems like it shouldn't be too difficult to do, but you know, what I was thinking would be really nice if the improvement of the quality would mean we would actually get dual audio, because the Japanese voice acting in VP1 is very good. The English one is, you know, it's old and it has its charm, I'll say for sure. I'll never forget one of the first lines that Armgrim says in like the opening of the game when he talks about the medicine. I don't know why he says it like that, but you know, it's just the times have changed a lot since there, and we have different English voice acting. I still don't like it for the most part, but they're at least trying. I'm not saying they didn't try back then, but it was just a different landscape, is all I'm saying. Anyway, I don't expect the dual audio to be here in the PSN version of this, but it sure would be nice. So, you know, they could put the extra work in, but I mean, this is Square Enix. It's probably going to be porting of the phone version, so I mean, just expect as little as you can, because, you know, we don't really have any reason to expect otherwise. That's it about this. Now, the Team Samurai in King of Fighters is coming out on October 4th, and it's, as you could expect from Team Samurai, it's from Samurai Showdown, the other SNK premier, if you can say that, premier fighting game. I'm saying that because, like, what is a premier fighting game these days? Like, Tekken 7 coming up on 8, and Street Fighter 5 coming up on 6. Those are like actual big budget fighting games. Everything else is like, looks like somebody's passion project. So it's like not bad, but you can definitely tell fighting games are a struggle genre when it comes to the success and the budget behind them. I'm really happy to see they have samurai characters though. That's awesome. King of Fighters 14 had only Nakoruru as far as I remember, and now we also have Haomaru and the Samurai Showdown newcomer in like the last Samurai Showdown game, the newest one, Darly Dagger, who is like a pirate. Looks pretty badass. We'll get to see her in a bit. Slowly sinking in my camera. I gotta say, King of Fighters 15 looks a lot nicer than 14, and I think it has a lot to do with the lighting. Period. It has to do with the lighting. Looks a lot better from that standpoint. I think the artwork is pretty much. Oh, the artwork is also better translated into 3D. That's for sure. But I think the lighting makes the biggest difference compared to 14, which like. A lot of people were trash talking. 14 looked kind of bad in a lot of ways. 15 doesn't look that much different from like the technical standpoint, but the lighting alone does a massive difference. Wait, who's voicing Darly Dagger? Didn't get that. Yu Kobayashi. Do I remember? I think I remember this name. I feel like it's somebody from Nier. I don't remember. Who's voicing 2B again? I don't think it's Dolly Dagger though. Doesn't really fit, but then again, the voice range on some of female Japanese voice actresses is pretty wide. They can voice like lollies or old grannies and tough mercenaries in the same show, and you wouldn't even know about it. So, man, that saw sword, that saw blade looks fucked up, man. Oh my god, that looks painful. And then it also changes into a drill. Yeah, okay. Alright, dude. Cool. Team Samurai coming out October 4th. If you're playing KOF 15, we got something to look forward to. And we're gonna keep the samurai thematic for a little bit, because Netflix announces Onimusha anime.
Bruh.
This is definitely not what I was. This is not what I was asking for when it comes to Onimusha at all. Similar to when they announced that Capcom is like having a Netflix show about Dragon's Dogma. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I don't want to watch a show about that. I want to play a game with that name. There's some cool things though. So obviously it's gonna be like a 3D CG anime, so everybody's gonna talk shit about it regardless of everything else. You know, that's just how it goes with today's otaku and Western anime enthusiasts, whatever you wanna call them. The cool parts are that the chief director is Takashi Miike. It's definitely something I would not expect at all for an anime that's on a Netflix based on a video game. So that's interesting. I don't know Animation Studio Sublimation. I don't follow anime at all these days, so I'm not sure. I see that Sal still didn't fix the name. The character model, it's supposed to be inspired by Toshiro Mifune, who's like a famous Japanese actor who played a lot of like samurai characters and period movies like by Akira Kurosawa. It's not Toshihiro. I'm pretty sure it's Toshiro, not Toshihiro. I'm surprised that nobody corrected him in the comment section. Or I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Toshiro. Anyway, don't go into the comment section, that's a bad idea. I mean, the vibes look pretty cool, but it doesn't really look like Onimusha at all. So, I don't know. I'm glad that it's a different story though, because it's supposed to be Musashi Miyamoto, the main character. And as far as I know, none of the 4 Onimusha games that I played had Musashi in them. Right? I remember we had some Yagyu Jubeis, we had Munetoshi, we had Samanosuke Akechi, who is like a made-up character based on Akechi Mitsuhide. We had Jean Reno, for some reason, because Onimusha 3 takes place in modern day, in France. So you control Jean Reno at some point too. There's actually history in Onimusha that they use real-life actors for their characters, so this is not too surprising. I'm probably not gonna watch this because, I mean, I don't care about anime these days. It would take something really special for me to actually give a damn about any kind of anime. The last thing I watched was probably just, you know, rebuild of Evangelion movies, and also the Berserk movies, obviously. I loved all of those, and maybe some Gundam. You know, Thunderbolt was all pretty good. Pretty awesome. That's about it. Alright, anyway. Speaking of anime, the Wrong Nier is getting an anime adaptation. So, moving on. There was a double Kickstarter, Armed Fantasia to the End of the Wilderness and Penny Blood. Double Kickstarter. I've never heard of this kind of thing before. So this was kind of interesting. Now, these are supposed to be... One of them is a spiritual successor to Wild Arms. If you are not familiar with Wild Arms, those are some really nice JRPGs with a movie western setting. So we got like revolvers and a lot of whistling and horses and you know what else. So that's cool. Is this... Okay, so this is probably from a stream, so the quality is a bit compromised. Anyway. So this is supposed to be the spiritual successor to Wild Arms. I would like to see like a Wild Arms 5 remaster or something, because that game actually really holds up in terms of production value and especially the soundtrack. But, you know, those games are pretty old. The other game I'm gonna talk about as well. Those are pretty old, and it seems like the IP is in like ownership hell. So if you wanted to remaster or port those old games, there would need to be like many negotiations and a lot of hustling to get it done, and it just seems like it's not possible. It's not gonna happen at all. So don't expect any like Wild Arms remasters or resurfacing or Shadow Hearts for that matter. Just look forward to this, I suppose. Is there any like... So we got exploration, that's cool. I think there were like combat videos as well, but they're not in this specific article, I don't think. So this Wild Arms. I'm personally less interested in Wild Arms because the other project they're working on is much more about me than Wild Arms, and that's Shadow Hearts. So I actually want to play this with sound because this has music in it, and it is very much on brand when it comes to Shadow Hearts. I like the slow walk up, you know, the camera going behind the character or the enemy. So you could see this was like the Judgment Ring equivalent. Yeah, this sounds like Shadow Hearts. Definitely sound like Shadow Hearts. I'm a little bit not concerned, but I do hope that these menus are like a work in progress, because while they fit like the game's setting and everything, and like I think they look okay, there's something off about them that just doesn't, you know, quite do it for me. I'm glad to see the sanity bar. That's good. So that's a very Shadow Hearts mechanic right there. So just something about this feels like it's like I don't know, 90s JRPG UI, which is not a bad thing, but it just somehow doesn't quite fit. I'd like to see... I don't even know how to fix this. Designing UI is very hard, and I don't envy the process to anybody. But there's just something I'm not gelling with right now. But what I want to take a look at more closely is this thing. So you select your attack or a cast or whatever, and then this thing appears. It's a shape of a heart, as you can see. Now we got these nodes, like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it 5? I'm tripping. It is 5. And now it's like a rhythm game. You gotta press the button at the correct timing to get like the effects happen. And if you miss it, you probably wouldn't do the full combo. That's how it worked in Shadow Hearts. But in Shadow Hearts, you had like a circle. It was called Judgment Ring, and it just ran like clockwise, and you were pressing buttons in like your zones. And I felt like that was a bit better, because I feel like here it's kind of hard to see that spark or the lightning bolt tracing the path, and when are you supposed to press the button. It seems kind of weird. I don't know. The feedback, the legibility doesn't quite feel nearly as fun or satisfying or easy to use as the Judgment Ring was. Also, this makes the game look much more like a rhythm game than Shadow Hearts was. I never felt like Shadow Hearts was a rhythm game at all because of the Judgment Ring. It was more like an execution, like a QTE check instead of mini rhythm game. You know, even Artonelico 2 is much more of a rhythm game than Shadow Hearts, which is also one of my favorite combat systems in JRPGs. Anyway, so that's one, and there's one more attack which actually combines the two sigils. I'm gonna call them sigils. I don't know if it's actually sigils or not, but it combines them, and you input the stuff for both of them, and they result in like a badass animation. And I think the lightning bolt is even harder to trace here visually. Like, definitely the cool part about this not being the Judgment Ring is definitely that it seems like you could play around with the shapes and the points much more than the Judgment Ring. Judgment Ring, you just increase the number of zones, you like narrowed the zones for it to be harder to press and everything. But here it seems like you could maybe like completely customize how the points appear, how the shape appears. Because you can see that these are totally two different paths, and now I'm gonna combine. And I get all these points, so this could be really cool. But something about the lightning bolt just doesn't work for me. Like, it's very hard to see where it actually is. I don't know. Either way, this looks great. Considering this is supposed to be like a Kickstarter project that just got funded, this looks very far along. We got 2 characters. It's awesome. And I think it's supposed to take place in the whatchamacallit, I always forget about it, the Taisho period, Japan, which is like the early 1900s, you know, like early 20th century, which is definitely something I enjoy. I really gotta play some Raido Kuzunoha games soon, because that is exactly where that takes place. I want to take a short look at the Kickstarter itself, because there's some interesting stuff here. So initially they wanted 100 million yen. Sounds like a lot of money, but it's probably not that crazy. And they got 300 million yen. Almost 400. So that's cool. The stretch goals seem kind of funny for Penny Blood though, because some of these stretch goals sound interesting. Eviscerate your enemies as a fusion monster. Right, so they initially had a version of the game where fusion was not even a thing. That's interesting. Unless it's just like they already had it, but you know, it's just filling up the stretch goals. You know, there's all kind of strats and meta for Kickstarters, I don't know. But like this stretch goal, so little boy, how much torture can you take? I don't know what that means, but I'm in. Sounds interesting. Call of Baby Cthulhu. Now this sounds exactly what I would expect from Shadow Hearts game, because Shadow Hearts was always like very dark and was very steeped in horror, but it was also very comedic, and there was like not a straight up parody, but there was just a lot of humor injected into the horror, which was very dissonant, but the game was able to make this work, and it didn't feel bad. It was the charm of the game. Shadow Hearts 2 leaned more heavily towards anime and like the comedy, much less into the horror. But the first game, man, there is some fucked up shit going on there. Recently, I saw the intro to Shadow Hearts 1 again, like a CG FMV intro. Wow, it's bloody. It's gory, it's really messed up. So the visuals of the Penny Blood game actually makes me think maybe they're gonna try to maintain more of that instead of Shadow Hearts 2. We'll see. They could afford it because, I mean, now they got the project funded, so they can do kind of whatever they want with it. We'll see about that. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is definitely Wild Hearts, launching in February also. So, man, February and January looks really stacked. And Wild Hearts for me is very exciting personally, because I'm a huge fan of Tokiden and the PS Vita hunting games. PS Vita had like a whole bunch of really amazing hunting games, and I'm not calling them Monster Hunter clones, because that's dumb. There is like a long-standing genre term for these games, which is like a karige in Japanese, basically meaning hunting game. So hunting games, that's what it is. Look, even if you want to stretch the definition a little bit, you could even call Warframe a hunting game, because that's kind of what it is. You are in an instance, you group up with people, you go into an instance, you kill stuff, you get materials, you craft stuff. That's it. That's a hunting game. Stop.
You violated the law.
Stop calling Monster Hunter an RPG. It's not an RPG. Okay, it's not. It's not an RPG. There's no RPG elements. I mean, there's RPG elements in the terms of crafting and like skills on the armor, sure, but it's not an RPG. There's no attributes. You don't have strength. You don't have intelligence. You don't have constitution. You don't have anything like that. There's no levels. You don't level up in the game. You level up your rank, but that's not your character. Your character is the same at the beginning of the game, and it's the same after 1,000 hours of the game. The thing that changes is the gear. That's not RPG. That's hunting game. Okay, now that's out of the way. Let's take a look at some of the pictures, and I'm also gonna watch the trailer. This definitely is awesome. I was previously gonna talk about the PS Vita hunting games. Right, so one of them was Tokiden, made by Omega Force. This is made by Omega Force. Omega Force is best known for their Dynasty Warriors games, obviously, but they've been doing a bunch of other things as well. A bunch of other genres also. They delved into like action RPGs also, with like on the PS3. They have done what else? Besides Musou games and Tokiden. I'm kind of blanking right now. I think Omega Force also co-developed Knights of Azure, which is also an action RPG. But I mean, basically, the bottom line is they know how to make action work. The biggest problem with Omega Force always was that Koei Tecmo makes them churn out the games a little too fast, and on a little too low of budget. And Dynasty Warriors 9 was definitely a wake-up call, because that was like the highest budget game they were doing for a long time, and they were not given enough time to develop that game. So it ended up the way it did. Now, EA is publishing this, I guess conjoining with KT, because I mean we see both logos here. But this could be a chance for Omega Force to make a game with a good budget. And I don't know how long has this been in development, but I could see like at least part of the studio has been working on this since Tokiden 2, which has been a while ago. I think Tokiden 2 came out like 2016, maybe 2015 even, because it did also come out on PS Vita, so it must have been a long time ago. Let's take a look at the video. Let's take a look at the video, because the video is very, very, very good. I really like the music choice. This definitely looks a lot like Monster Hunter Iceborne / World.
So, visitors.
Oh no, we switched.
So, visitors to the land of the East.
My favorite part about Guild Wars 1. This is kind of unrelated, but it's related to the picture on the screen. My favorite part in Guild Wars 1, my first MMO, which you could argue it's not an MMO, but let's not worry about that right now. My first MMO experience, online experience at least, the first expansion, Guild Wars Factions, there was this like the coolest place I've ever seen in a video game, like a fantasy landscape. It's called the Jade Sea, and the Jade Sea was petrified in an explosion from something. We don't need to worry about that, but it did exactly this. It petrified the sea in a moment. So you could, when you were traversing the land, you could walk on the sea, which was frozen, and it was being mined for the jade, and you could see these frozen waves all around the place. It looked beautiful. So seeing this here makes me very happy, because it's like modern graphics in a hunting game with the Japanese setting, and it's got the frozen Jade Sea in it too. Man, that's nice. That's a big boy.
Ozma is fraught with danger.
It's a very big boy.
The kimono grow ever more desperate. They battle for territory. They clash for prey. But in you, is the power to stop this. In you, there is the seed of invention. You need only hunt. Trust that in so doing, the seed will soon grow. You will become a force of nature.
I really like this music. Great blend of, you know, the old sound and the new sound, just like the old sound.
And tame a world gone wild.
It is a very large boy. Okay, so February, right? That's February is gonna be very stacked. Now the funny part to me is like I checked the comments a little bit and it's like, oh man, it's totally Japanese Monster Hunter. So somebody replied, oh, you mean it's like Monster Hunter Rise? And I replied, no, like Tokiden, because Tokiden predates Monster Hunter Rise by like 8 years. But, you know, you get the idea. People are just gonna call it Monster Hunter because in the West here, nobody played any other hunting game besides Monster Hunter, and they never heard about Soul Sacrifice, they never heard about Free No Mores, they never heard about Tokiden, they never heard about Phantasy Star Online. I mean, maybe they've heard about Phantasy Star Online, but they don't think about that game as being a hunting game because it's sci-fi, so it doesn't look like Monster Hunter, so it's not Monster Hunter, but it's totally Monster Hunter. Anyway, looks great. I'm really looking forward to this. This is gonna be awesome. Glad to see Omega Force taking up the mantle once again, because Monster Hunter has been monopolizing the hunting genre again ever since the Vita was dropped by Sony Entertainment System. So that's good. I don't know about February though. February is looking quite stacked. But that's it for the news. Thanks for dropping by. I'll catch you in the next, I guess, week if there's enough news. And hope you found something that's interesting to you. For now, let's go back to playing some video games. I'll catch you later.